Number two, let's go to the other extreme. What are some of the investment ideas for people over 40? So if you are 40, it's different because now you are mature. Perhaps you have children who have grown. Okay, some of them are about to finish high school. Some of them have even finished high school. If you had your kids when you are 20 years old, by the age of 40, your daughter or your son is 20 years old as well. They have finished grade 12. They are possible to go to college. So in your 40s, you have solid responsibilities, most of which are going to be for not less than 5 years because you'll be sending your son, your daughter to college. Okay? So there's a moron that does not know. Vicky, you are such a moron. Vicky is above 25 and she doesn't know what an ETF is. Such a pretty moron. Can you believe that? Such a pretty moron. So if you're above 40, okay, at this stage of your life, your priorities have shifted. Notice you have moved from wealth creation to wealth preservation and real passive income. Not the passive income here to watch. Remember, when you're in your 40s, it's not the time to create wealth. 40s is a time to now begin to preserve what you've worked so hard for. So the question is, if you're in your 40s and you are broke, that means there's a period in your life when you are a total moron. You did not utilize that period. That's why in your 40s, you're still broke. You're still broke. But now that you're in your 40s, you've become wiser. Now that you've become wiser, you're asking questions. Oh my goodness, I'm 40. I have no land. What am I going to do? I'm 40. I have no real investment. Oh my goodness, what am I going to do? Let me do something before it's too late. Now wisdom has found you because you're in your 40s. And we want to commend you because when you're in your 40s now, you are more mature. You're able to see the mistakes you made, you know. If you can't look back 5 years ago, 2 years ago, and 3 years ago, and see how a moron you've been, that means you are not wise to this date. Because all of us, what makes us wise is to look back and say, you know what, I think I was so foolish 2 years ago. Because now you've matured. With age, you see things more clearly. Things become more clear than they used to be. If I look back 5 years ago, I'm about to tell that I was so foolish. I can see my stupidity 5 years ago clearly. I can see the mistakes I made 5 years ago clearly. There's no doubt I was a total moron because I could look back and say, oh my goodness. Why? Because now I'm much more wiser than I was 5 years ago. It is why I'm able to see my mistakes more clearly. If you're in your 40s and you can't see that 5 years ago you're a total moron, that means you're still a moron. You've not grown. You are still a total, pure moron. Because you can't see anything wrong 5 years ago that you messed up, that you should correct today. You can't see. That means you're still a moron. So, if you're in your 40s, you want to focus more on wealth preservation. You want to focus more on assets that give you income. Your number one job is capital preservation in your 40s, so that capital can be maintained and grow. Number one, in your 40s, remember when we talked to somebody in their 20s, I said below 25, invest in high risk, high reward, because you have an opportunity to experiment. You don't have a lot of money to lose. Okay? In your 40s, you have to have a balance. But a huge chunk of your investment should not be in very high risk, high reward, because you are old, your strength has reduced. So what you want in your 40s, you want to focus on low risk investments more than you focus on high risk investments. This does not mean you can't invest in high risk. You can. But you don't want to put a huge chunk of your money in high risk investment because you are in your 40s. Okay? If you are 40 years old today, you've lived more than half of your life already because the life expectancy in this country is 62 years old, is 62 years for men and 66 years for women. So if you're in your 40s, you possibly have got 22 years to go before you die. So you don't want to experiment unnecessarily in your 40s. In your 40s, you want to think safety. You want to think preservation. You want to think sustenance. You want to think, multiplication in the right way, not experiments. That is why you want to reduce on very high risk investments, because if you lose all your hard work in your 40s is difficult to recover. Somebody give me a comment if that makes sense to you. Okay? Somebody give me a comment if that makes sense to you. There's some comments. So that's what you want.